Hello, Steve Suffoletto at Erie Community College. We want to print the backside of the Easter Bunny rabbit basket. So if you recall, we print this project in class and lab, then we print a one-color backer, and then we donate these to local elementary schools for the kindergarten classes to color. They're like a coloring sheet. So, if we take a look at the negatives, turn on the light table here, we got a ruby mask. This is a common mask for all the colors and the marks. We printed the black front side, and the black front side had a slug or a promotional line here. But if I turn it wrong reading, this is right reading. If I turn it wrong reading, the type would be backwards, but we could mask that off. The bigger issue is, if I print the back side with the same negative as the front side, I'll have all this shading in here. And that's not good for coloring. What we want to see, of course, is just a line art drawing. So that was my black separation negative. That was my yellow separation negative. There's my cyan separation negative. Here's my magenta separation negative. Now these are all film negatives that were made on an inkjet printer on clear film. So here is a line drawing with no shading, no screening, no halftoning. It's a negative polarity, but it's not on film, it's on paper. And this was done on a toner or a laser printer. So the question now becomes, can I use this to make a negative? And the answer should be of course, because from previous exercises, you might remember this experiment that we did, where we took we took this color sample here, we took this Stouffer scale, we exposed the color chips, the Stouffer scale, and a clear transparency film. Do I still have that here? There it is. Here's a clear transparency film. So this is a film, right? And from this experiment, we found out what color sensitivities the plate has. It cannot see red, it cannot see yellow, therefore it cannot see green. We saw that the plate was very high contrast. So yes, we can use a paper negative to make a plate. Now you might not want to do that, but depending on your resources, the equipment that you have, the materials that you have, the budget that you have, your workflow, you might need to do this. So I have some numbers written here. I want to show you how I determined that. So you know that we use the reflection densitometers to measure anything that's reflective. That would be things like proofs and press sheets or original artwork. But we also have a transmission densitometer. Rarely ever use this anymore, but in the days when we had CTF, computer to film image setters, where we were outputting film negatives, we had to calibrate or linearize the image setter. So this is a Tobias TRX, transmission, reflection, and data transmission. We can go ahead and zero out on clear air. So if I measure the transmission density of air, it should be 0. If I measure the transmission density of the Mylar support sheet, it should be very, very low, only 0.04 or 0.05. If I measure the paper, the white paper, it's going to have some density. It's going to absorb some light. It's not completely transparent. It's not completely opaque. It's translucent. It has a density of about 0.80. And if I can find a area that just has laser toner density on it, that's 173. So the question now becomes, is there enough density contrast between the white paper at 0.8 and the toner on the paper at 1.8 to make a plate? And the answer is, of course, there is. The other thing that I did is to increase the maximum density of the D-Max. I took a Sharpie Magic Marker and I just painted. So here's an area where there's black Sharpie Magic Marker. If I measure that area, the density is 5. That might even be over film density. Now, I also used red Magic Marker, and you could say to yourself, well, why did I use red? Because why do I use red ruby stripping material? Even though its density is lower, its color acts as a safe light. So that will block the light. Okay, so I'm confident that we can use this paper negative to make a plate. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. So let's get a plate from our plate drawer. Plates 2800. Now you'll notice that we've been getting plates from different suppliers and vendors, Expedex, Color Lock, and Jade, because the plate is that emerald green, and GE Richards. So all different types of plate manufacturers, vendors. We can take our plate. It looks like someone has already punched the plate, but that's all right. I'm going to punch it again. Center it up. Make the punch. And we're using a Strausser register punch. Let's come over here and turn on our Nuark flip top vacuum plate maker. Flip the top open. Put the plate on the pins. Put the paper negative right reading on the pins. We need a mask. We left the mask over here on the light table. The mask has to go right reading, Rubylith mask. Close the vacuum, turn the vacuum on. If we have a good seal with the rubber gasket, we should get a good vacuum draw. That's going to be fine. Now for the exposure time, our normal exposure time is 18 units, but that's for clear film. I got to get the light to penetrate through the translucent white paper that had a 0.80 density. So I'm going to expose this twice. I could increase 18 to 36, but that might make the bulb get really hot. I think it's better to do this as 2 18s rather than 136. So let's go ahead and make the exposure. T for timer. And as you know, the bulb, as it gets hotter, is giving more light output. So we're going to need to process the plate here. I'm not So let's get our plate developer out. All right, this is a 2-in-1 plate developer. It's ready to use. What's the 2-in-1? Not only is it a developer, but it probably has some gum arabic in it to help us do some desensitization. Let's get our cotton pad. I'm going to need 2 of these. Okay, you can see the ultraviolet purple light exiting the vacuum frame. We're going to need some gum arabic and a cotton pad. Okay, that's our first exposure of 18. You can see the bulb was very hot. It's cooling down. The reason why I'm doing 2 18s instead of 136 is I don't want that to get so hot. So now we do another second 18 exposure. Okay, so in this video I just want to show you that we can use a paper negative to make the plate. We don't need a real photographic film negative. We could have used a pseudo film negative, which is either clear film going through an inkjet printer or